So the beer today has a fun story behind it. In 2009, Surly had a wort rally, a AHA rally, and they made a beer called, well, they called it Imperial Brown. I called it gratuitous because it was free, I guess. So then in 2014, I did my own version of it that I just called Big Brown, and it turned out very nice. And this was because Todd Howe gave us the recipe for the Surly beer. So then, that was 2014, and then in 2015, I was able to be a guest brewer at Thirsty Pagan Brewing. You can see the title of this video that is out there, where we scaled up that recipe that I guess originally was not my recipe, and you know, that's a fact. But I made my homebrew version, and then we actually scaled up my homebrew version and made the commercial version on a 2-barrel system, and that sold very well. So now, flash forward to 2019, and I want to make this same recipe, except I'm going to make it as a lager because it's winter and it's cold, very cold, and lots of snow. So what we are doing today is 11.25 pounds pills. And actually, I think Todd, let me check, I think he just had like a pale, let's see, he had Canadian pale malt is what he had. Yeah, so 8%. So that is my own twist, kind of the lager twist, and also I have pills on hand. So that's the base malt. 1.25 pounds of brown. Now, if you've never used brown, it's a very interesting malt, and it really gives this thing a unique flavor. I was talking to Todd about this after this beer was done, and he speculated maybe it was a little high on the brown malt, but it does give it a unique kind of husky, grainy, slightly charcoaly, roasty flavor. 2.5 dark crystal, 2.5 extra dark, those are pounds. Now, in his recipe, he has a pound of dark, I think it came out to about a pound of 3.6% dark candy syrup. So this is kind of fun because as you saw the video of Don Edwards, Don Ho, he sent me some of this syrup. And so this is perfect. I have 12, almost 13 ounces, so a little less than a pound. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to see how that does. That's better. 1 ounce Columbus 60, 1 ounce Columbus 30, 1 ounce Willamette at 0. Yes, I have the Imperial Global Lager strain that I have washed from a previous batch. I'm making a starter. I have the mash going right now. I'm collecting the wort tonight. I'll brew it in the morning. We'll see what the original gravity is. I'm hoping it'll be 1070-ish. And this will be, so I just like the story of this beer. You've got commercial beer that he gave us the recipe. I made a home brew. Then I'm appropriating some other ingredients from a viewer, plus my own natural cycle of brewing in the lager season. And I'm making an entirely new beer, and I'm hoping it will turn out nice. So we will see in a number of weeks. So here come the first runnings. Hopefully I won't screw this up. We'll collect a couple of quarts here, and it's looking good. Nice rich brown color. Is definitely the aroma of the brown malt in the air. And so we'll do that like that. And this is not really the way to do this with the camera and whatnot, but yeah, this is how I do this. This is the way I've always done this. This is actually the part that I don't show in my original 2006 all grain brewing, is just pouring this back in like this. And there we go. So I've got about 6.5 gallons of 12 bricks, so like 1048. So that might evaporate off to like around 1060, and then I'll probably get like 5 to 6 points off my sugar syrup business. So that would be putting it in the upper 1060s, which I guess I was thinking 13 pounds of grain. I was thinking maybe I'd get a little more like 1065, you know, closer to 1070. Actually, you know what? That's roughly what I probably would get. So we're on track. I'm gonna cover this with a whole bunch of blankets tonight. I just put it on a board and cover it with a bunch of blankets, and in the morning it'll still be like in the upper 130s usually temperature wise, and then I do the boil. This is how I do it like dozens and dozens of times with no problem. So we'll see how it comes out after the boil and the chill is done. Alright, I'm going to get the syrup in. I've been soaking it in this hot water for a couple minutes. I've got the cap loose-ish. Let's see here. Alright. What's nice and warm. Okay. So I can't really easily do this one-handed, but you know what? We better turn this music off because that is a very identifiable song, and YouTube will yell at me. So I'm just getting this. If I had two hands free, I would stir it with one hand and then pour it in with the other, but I'm not too worried about it hitting the bottom, getting scorched, anything like that. So there we go. So this is, yeah, 12 point whatever ounces, 7, and we will see. Now the beer that the Don Edwards made was 2 of these bottles, and I think it maybe did have a little bit of you know, a little bit of a syrup character. So I think 1 of these bottles will not be super noticeable, and there's going to be a lot of malt flavor in here anyway. Alright, that's pretty good. Maybe I'll try to get a little wort in there and rinse it out, but that's definitely pretty much all of it. So here is the yeast starter, ready to rock. Yeah, we're gonna pitch this. We got 5 gallons. I don't think this music will be popping up on the YouTube content infringement, but let's see here. So yeah, I got 5 gallons, and the gravity is to be determined, but it's gonna be like a little bit over 1060. Not in the upper 1060s, but I'll get that later. And here goes the yeast. I aerated with pure oxygen, and we'll try not to pitch the stir bar. I'm sure everyone's done that at least once. I think I did it one time. But yeah, I got 5 gallons even before adding the starter, and I'll seal it up and it will be off. My chicken lady was at the door, and she was bringing the eggs to pick up the grain. We're back on that, and oh, a couple other notes. I thought it was funny, I dumped in the syrup without even tasting it. And then when I was rinsing the thing, I have a second bottle, that's what this is. I thought I would taste it, and it's actually a little bit molasses-like, which I don't know why I didn't think to taste it. I think it's funny that I didn't. But it was replacing 1 pound of Belgian dark candy syrup, which I think is, you know, has a little bit of a character anyway. So it's done now, so we'll see how it turns out. A couple other notes. Instead of the 1 ounce of the Columbus that previously was 12.9 alpha acid, this time it was 15.7. It was, you know, roughly 3 points more. 12 25% more, so I decreased the 1 ounce to 0.75 ounce at 60, 0.75 ounce at 30, the remaining ½ ounce with the Willamette at 0. And I've gotten a little bit of a better look at the gravity, which I don't know if this will focus in, which is Bart Simpson's favorite drug, but it's gonna be more like 1064, 1065, which is okay for 13 pounds of grain on my system, and it was 5 gallons, I think, like I mentioned, and we will see. But I wanted to give you those other clarifications. Joel,
let me know when you're ready.
Go for it, man. We'll get the. So it should be well carbonated. It's been on tap for a while. Raise it up. We'll take a look. Look at that. All right, there we go. Raise it up, and we got chip. Right here.
Chip in the crack, y'all.
Chip in the crack. So here we all are. You just saw us taking a sample. Welcome to Joel. This is he's a new
Contributor.
video.
Yes.
Yeah. And we didn't order it right, but we've got like. We got Chip, and we got like I got a little poofy head, and then we have like the man from the woods. He just came out of the woods actually this morning. So we're gonna try this beer. The question, I guess, kind of is, what does this syrup contribute to this beer like this? Is this a flavor we like? Is it a flavor we don't really like? What else might you use this syrup in a beer if you wanted? And the brown malt, you know, like I don't know if you said you weren't familiar with it. I wasn't either. I wasn't either until I had the Surly beer first 10 years ago. I can smell it immediately though. Like I remember what that brown malt gives. Real kind of a toasty nuttiness and like a burnt toasty kind of.
So it's like more burnt and toasty than like a crystal malt?
I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah, the crystal malt might have some of that, especially with the darkers, but then there's like a sweetness too.
Sure.
And the brown is not particularly sweet, really. It just has like that kind of character. Now this does have ½ pound of dark crystal, quarter pound dark, quarter pound extra dark. Started at 1065, finished all the way down at 1.009. So it is 7.3, 7.4%. It did get pretty low. I'm glad it didn't get lower. You know, I don't know.
8%.
The lager strains that I've been using, this was the Imperial Global strain. They chew away. I mean, I don't remember the mash tap off the top of my head, but I wouldn't have mashed particularly low. It probably was like 152-ish.
Yeah.
It's got a brown, sugary, kind of molassesy. Not quite maple syrup because it's still not that sweet. It finishes good bitter. And I think that might be from hops, but it could also be from that syrup possibly, because if it is a molassesy kind of syrup, that's going to have that like burnty, astringenty.
I think
I like this.
I think you are on the track though, because you have tasted the syrup. Joel has not. We're gonna lay it. We're gonna get him. We're gonna give him a pull. You know, like in moonshine, you know, style, and see what you know, because then it's like you can't unknow it.
Yeah, definitely.
The thing. But I would have liked this beer if I would have made it exactly as designed and used the dark Belgian candy syrup or no syrup and just sort of used the grain. The lager strain doesn't change it dramatically from when I did the I think I did 1056 before. So I'm not going for a lot of specific flavors from the yeast strain.
Yeah, it's really clean.
But I do like the I mean, it has like a kind of a complex malt profile. I mean, it's like got all this like there's like it's kind of a burnt / bitterness to it, almost like an astringency. I mean, almost like you get in like some stouts from a roasted character, but it's not from the it's a little bit from the brown malt. But enough of my yakking. Let's go ahead and
I'm almost wondering if a little more residual sweetness wouldn't be a bad.
It wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be.
Because after you stop sipping, you really realize how long it finishes quite bitter.
Yeah. I mean, in some sense, you then like want to take another sip. You know, sometimes beer works that way. It's like a whatever type of machine is a self-perpetuating machine.
It's like something that you would bake with. It's like kind of reminds me of like ginger cookies or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's just sugar though. That doesn't have ginger or any spices in it or anything.
It says no additives.
It says syrup,
comma
cane,
and a dude in a hat.
It tastes kind of burnt.
Definitely.
I don't know how molasses is made and how it would be different, but you could probably make rum out of this stuff.
Definitely.
That tastes like, you know, and then molasses has grades to it, so there are like, and I'm not going to act like I know, but I know that there's kind of like, just like Belgian candy syrups do, you know? There's a light, there's a, you know, they attribute a number to the candy syrups, but that tastes like the not quite, I don't know if Blackstrap is the one that's just like, almost borders on like smoky and singed. That one kind of tastes like to me, a little medium molasses.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't really fancy, you said bacon or cooking, like I wouldn't really fancy pouring that on anything and eating it really as is.
Not on its own.
No, I don't think
it's
it's
pretty rich and pretty strong.
Yeah.
But so like a Biscoff or something like totally like gingerbread.
Yeah.
Kind of cool to see.
Biscoff?
Like that's the speculoos kind of cookies.
Oh,
yeah.
There's a type of a cookie?
Belgian cookie.
I feel like I would almost want to like put some on top of some like burnt toast or something. You know?
Oh boy.
Double down.
Insult to injury. So if I was to do this exact same thing again, for my money, I would probably use less of this syrup. So I need also to thank Don Edwards once again, aka Don Ho, for sending this syrup, for sending 3 bottles of the syrup in total, and some of his beer, and the flies. There's another video on us tasting his beer, and he sent this fly, like the fly fishing, hand-tied flies, not like flies.
Now I got flies all over my house.
There's some
Thanks,
flies.
Don Ho.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
It's Don Ho.
Anywho's, he made a beer with 2 bottles of this stuff, and that had even more of a cidery, sugary component when you use like so much kind of sugar like that. Although I don't really recall it being this kind of like burnt tasting, and I almost wonder if the brown malt, you know,
it
like,
very well could be the brown.
They work together for that effect, which could be good or could be not so good. But if I was gonna use the syrup again in this exact beer, I'd probably use less of it. I definitely taste the syrup in here, maybe more as it gets warm. But I mean, I'm just like I know what it tastes like. I've been drinking this beer. It's not a bad result. You could use this beer. So another question for you guys is, what type of other beers might you consider using a dark, burnt-ish kind of syrupy thing like this in?
Honestly, and I might try, I mean, I don't know if Don Ho would send Chip Walton one, or if I could just buy this somewhere, but gingerbread stout. I've actually been wanting to do one of those for multiple years. Read up on like other people's opinions, then never brew it, because like before you know it, you're like, oh, well, now it's Christmas and it's kind of not worth brewing.
Yeah.
But I would do that in something like that. I'd maybe even do it, I don't know.
I'm going to donate this bottle.
Like a Saison Noir? Like something where not a lot of it.
Saison?
Yeah, but just to get a little bit of that kind of dark, funky sugar to go with whatever yeast you're using for a Saison. I don't know. Or a Belgian dark strong, a quad. I don't know. You're not going to achieve like the style using it, but I think that anything that the Belgian dark candy syrup goes into, that would be an interesting riff.
Would you?
Yeah, I can see it going really well into like some kind of like a winter warmer, sort of like holiday spice beer or something.
Sure.
Like,
what about at that amount?
I personally don't mind the amount.
Okay.
I think it's a cool thing to taste in there, and I'm surprised that there's this much character left in it from that. Cause
I am also surprised, because it's just a little bottle and it goes into 5 gallons.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and it's just pure cane sugar. I guess I always just kind of assume that stuff ferments out. You know,
I can just smell it. I can even just smell that junk.
It's really. I am smelling it a lot more now that it's warmed up a little bit.
And now that you know what you're looking for also.
Exactly.
I was wondering about along the lines of something else that's kind of roasty and toasty, and I was thinking of the stouts and the porters. Maybe an imperial stout. Maybe even like an imperial stout that has some sweetness to it. Maybe like a milk stout to go along with this kind of burnt kind of character.
Yeah.
Well, it's it's nice when you make a beer and you don't just hate it and you don't just think, oh man, what am I gonna do with this, or how do I gotta blend this with another beer. I like it. And also it's made March 2nd. It's now April 6th, so it's just a little over a month old. And these lagers continue to usually get a little bit better in another even month. And I mean, I'm not going to be drinking this beer too hard, just because of the nature of the beer that it is. So it'll be around for a while, and it'll hopefully continue to maybe even get a little better, maybe get a little softer. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna put a fork in that project, and
it's done.
We got empty glass. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching.
Was it supposed to be empty? I'm sorry. Hold on.
Nah. Your glass. When your glass is empty, it becomes full once again. Anyway, catch you later.